let's take the conversation forward. Where is the world headed? Matt Orton joins us on the show right now. Matt, hi, morning. I know the street is all obsessed with that April 4 deadline for tariff implementation, but first let's talk about what happened between Zelensky and Trump, because you really were on repeat mode playing that video out. You couldn't get your eyes off that. What is it hinting at? Does it seem like America is somewhat aligning towards Russia now?
Hey, good morning. It's always great to join. And I think Trump ended that whole segment great by saying, if anything, this is going to make for good TV, because I think it did. And we're all talking about it. But to be serious about what it actually means, I think, to look at it from two different perspectives. From a geopolitical perspective, I think it highlights that Trump is very serious about finding a way to end the war. I wouldn't necessarily say he's moving more towards Putin, but if listeners took in the whole 11-minute segment that actually took place, some of the words that Trump used were really signaling that you can't basically beat up the person you're trying to make a deal with. And I think that's exactly what he's signaling about Putin, is that someone's going to have to give up something in relation to this. And hopefully there's going to be the security guarantees in place, which is why you've seen European defense companies continue to work so well. And so for me, I think it adds a little bit more uncertainty into the near term with respect to when we might get this sort of ceasefire. But I think based on the rhetoric afterwards as well, that we're going to continue to work towards it. It is not an easy process. But for me as an investor, I think what it says is it really highlights why sentiment has been so negative, not just in the US, but around the world. And it's because there's so much uncertainty from a geopolitical perspective, from an economic perspective, from a breakdown in different pockets of different markets. I think we're all digesting what that means. But overall, just like we're probably going to get a deal, markets are probably also going to remain on good footing because growth fundamentally continues to look good, particularly in the US.
So, Matt, do you expect some clarity really to emerge in the month of March on the tariff front? Do you think word would know that what the final tariff plan would be?
Yeah, Nikunj, I think we're going to find out on Tuesday how serious we actually are about implementing these tariffs and whether or not all of the tariffs on Mexico and Canada are implemented at the full 25% level on Tuesday. I think what's more important is where we're going to be 1 week or 2 weeks down the road, because we all believe and hope that these are going to be used as a negotiating tactic to kind of level the terms of trade between the two nations. That's what the markets are pricing in as well. So I don't know if we can use what happens in the next week as the signal to where we ultimately end up, but I do think we'll know much more before the end of this month. So I view March as really a clarifying month. We're through earnings season. We're going to have the FOMC. Markets are going to have to hold up in light of macro uncertainty. So I think if the markets can digest bad news in stride and rally on good news, I think that's going to set up a very constructive picture for this bull market really to start to reaccelerate. And if not, I'd rather have more of a washout very, very quickly so we can continue to rebuild the bull market. Because at the end of the day, like I alluded to before, markets go up because of forward-looking earnings. And when we look at the earnings for the US and many other parts around the world, that is still looking positive. That still remains in place. So I'm still biased to be bullish over the long term.
Matt, in the interim, while investors do await clarity on tariffs, you think markets are going to be on the sidelines, or are we going to see investors load off and go light into this announcement or clarity?
Yeah, we saw a little bit of that last week. I mean, I'm encouraged and also discouraged by the price action last week. Thursday, in the wake of NVIDIA's, I would say, fairly good earnings, NVIDIA over in overnight hours was up, and then it ended up down more than 8%. But what was most concerning to me on Thursday was that we saw a spike in correlation. This market has been held together, at least in the US, because of healthy rotation beneath the surface. While the Magnificent Seven, in general have rolled over a little bit with the exception of Meta, the rest of the market has been working really, really well. Financials, energy, industrials, consumer staples, utilities, all of those sectors have been working quite well, but everything went down on Thursday. We saw a rally on Friday back. That's encouraging, and we have to see more of that going forward because that sort of increase in correlation we're susceptible to those air pockets right now because sentiment is so negative. And once a bid comes out from the market and no one's there to buy, you'll see the market start to go down in that sort of death spiral. I don't think we're going to see that, again, because sentiment is so washed out. There's a number of indicators that are very, very washed out. So I would expect to see the markets take news in stride because we're getting clarity, and markets like to have clarity going forward.
Oh, yeah, they do. Matt, great to have you on the show. Thanks for your time as always. And we're going to get